My mom yelled, "Quit ruining the trip with your sister. Just leave." As if I was the problem after I booked every ticket, every room. So I did quietly. 3 hours later her card was declined at check-in. Can you imagine being told by your own mother, "Stop ruining the trip. Just leave"? I'm Haley, 29, and those words hissed at me in our luxurious Miami hotel suite hit me like a physical blow. I'd spent months planning this dream family vacation, poured thousands of dollars, every ounce of my love into making it perfect. And that's the thanks I got. My family dynamic has always been, let's just say, complicated. My mom, Catherine, now 58, raised us as a single mother after my dad left when I was 7. She worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, which meant Stephanie, my younger sister by 5 years, often got babied. I, on the other hand, had to grow up fast. This pattern had just stuck. Stephanie remained the baby of the family, needing protection and special treatment, while I became the responsible one, expected to handle everything. Despite this imbalance, I always craved a close relationship with my family. My career in digital marketing took off early. By 29, I was finally making enough to afford some luxury. Mom, meanwhile, worked as a hospital administrator, always stressed, always overworked. Stephanie? She bounced between retail jobs, still finding herself at 24. Last year, Mom had a minor heart scare. It shook me. The doctor said it was just stress, but it was enough to make me realize how precious our time together was. That's when I decided I would plan the most incredible trip for her upcoming 60th birthday. A week in Miami at a beachfront resort. I wanted to give her something she would never give herself. The planning process consumed me for over 3 months. Nights spent researching hotels with ocean views, but within budget. I snagged an amazing deal on a luxury suite by booking 6 months in advance. I used my airline miles to upgrade us all to first-class flights. I wanted Mom to experience that luxury just once. I researched restaurants that would accommodate Mom's dietary restrictions and Stephanie's notoriously picky eating habits. I created color-coded itineraries, complete with backup plans for rain days. Most importantly, I saved nearly $7,000 from my own accounts to cover the majority of expenses. Mom contributed what she could, about $1,500, and Stephanie promised to handle some meals, though I knew better than to count on that. The warning signs, they started almost immediately after I announced the trip. Stephanie complained about the early morning flight, even though it was the only one I could get with the upgrades. "Why can't we leave in the afternoon? I hate waking up early," she whined. I explained that afternoon flights would cost an additional $300 per person. Money we didn't have in the budget. Mom sided with her, of course. "Haley, you know your sister isn't a morning person. Couldn't you have found something more reasonable?" I swallowed my frustration. This was the first of many moments where I felt my efforts going completely unappreciated. But I pushed the feeling aside. This trip wasn't about me. It was about giving Mom a special birthday celebration. As the departure date crept closer, the complaints continued. Mom questioned my hotel choice. "Are you sure it's in a good area? Your cousin Janet went to Miami last year and said the beach area can be so noisy." Never mind that I'd read hundreds of reviews and selected a resort known for its peaceful location. Stephanie texted almost daily with suggestions that would completely derail my carefully researched plans. "We should do a party boat instead of the sunset cruise. I found this club that's supposed to be amazing. Can we skip the dinner reservation that night?" Each time, I patiently explained my reasoning, tried to accommodate where possible, and reminded myself this is about making Mom happy. I modified the itinerary multiple times, losing deposits on some bookings just to keep the peace. The night before our departure, I couldn't sleep. I was excited but also so anxious. I had poured so much of myself into this trip, not just financially but emotionally. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted Mom to feel special and loved. I wanted us to create memories together that would last. I never imagined that 3 days later I'd be boarding a plane home alone, fighting back tears and wondering where it all went wrong. Our flight landed in Miami at 11:30 a.m. on a perfect sunny day. The palm trees swayed in the gentle breeze as our taxi pulled up to the hotel. The lobby was a marvel of modern luxury. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and floor-to-ceiling windows revealing glimpses of a turquoise ocean. "This is beautiful," Mom said, genuine surprise in her voice as the bellhop took our luggage. For that brief moment I felt vindicated. Maybe this would work out after all. The check-in process went smoothly, thanks to my early online registration. When we entered our suite, even Stephanie seemed impressed by the spacious rooms and the balcony overlooking the ocean. "Which bedroom is mine?" she immediately asked. I had planned to give Mom the master bedroom with the ensuite bathroom and ocean view, while Stephanie and I would take the smaller rooms. "Mom gets the master, of course," I explained. "But I wanted the ocean view," Stephanie pouted. Rather than argue, I gave up my room with the partial ocean view and took the smallest room facing the city. It seemed a small sacrifice for peace. We had lunch reservations at a waterfront restaurant I'd carefully selected for its seafood options that Mom loved. The meal started pleasantly enough, with Mom taking photos of the view and her colorful cocktail. But halfway through the appetizers, Stephanie started complaining. "This ceviche is too limey," she said, pushing her plate away. "And why is it so hot out here? Couldn't we have eaten inside?" I had specifically requested outdoor seating for the gorgeous view, as described in all the reviews. "We can ask to move inside," I offered, already signaling the waiter. Mom shook her head. "No, it's fine. Let's not make a scene. We'll just eat quickly and go." The meal I had anticipated as a perfect start to our vacation was rushed and tense. Stephanie barely touched her food and Mom kept checking her watch. Back at the hotel, I suggested we change and head to the beach for a few hours before dinner. "I'm actually really tired from the flight," Mom said. "I think I'll take a nap." "Me too," Stephanie chimed in. "Plus, I need to fix my nails. The polish chipped in my suitcase." I tried to hide my disappointment. "That's fine. I made dinner reservations for 7:30 at that Cuban place I told you about. It gets booked up quickly, so we should leave by 7 o'clock. They both nodded vaguely before disappearing into their rooms. Left alone, I decided to explore the hotel and beach by myself. The beach was everything I'd hoped for: pristine white sand and clear blue water. I walked along the shore, trying to recapture my excitement for the trip, telling myself things would improve once everyone had rested. The next morning, I woke early and went down to the pool area to reserve a premium cabana. The hotel staff told me they normally got claimed by 8 a.m., so I was there at 7 o'clock, ensuring we'd have shade and comfort for our beach day. I ordered a fruit platter and coffee to be delivered at 10 o'clock, assuming everyone would be up by then. When I returned to the room at 9:30, I found Mom and Stephanie in their pajamas, scrolling through their phones. "Good morning. I've got us a great cabana for today. Breakfast will be delivered there at 10 o'clock. Mom looked up with a frown. "Oh, I don't know if I want to sit at the beach all day. It's supposed to be very hot today. Plus, those cabanas are always right next to screaming kids," Stephanie added. "Actually, I got us one in the adults-only section," I explained. "And it has misters to keep cool. I thought we could relax there until lunch, then maybe do the Art Deco walking tour I mentioned." Mom and Stephanie exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. "I was thinking we might go shopping instead," Stephanie said. "I saw there's a mall nearby." "But the walking tour," I began, thinking of the non-refundable tickets I'd purchased months ago. "Haley, it's a vacation," Mom interrupted. "We don't need to stick to a strict schedule. If Stephanie wants to go shopping, we can do your tour another day." I swallowed my objection, calculating the $75 per person I'd lose on the tour tickets. Sure, shopping could be fun too. We ended up at the cabana 2 hours later than planned. The breakfast I'd ordered had been sitting out, the coffee cold. Neither Mom nor Stephanie seemed to notice or care about the wasted food and money. That evening we had dinner reservations at an upscale restaurant I'd booked weeks in advance, requiring a credit card hold that would charge $50 per person for cancellations. As we were getting ready, Stephanie announced, "I told my friend Amber about our trip and she wants to meet us for drinks tonight. She lives here." "You have a friend in Miami?" I asked, surprised. "When did you plan this?" "We've been Instagram friends for years," Stephanie explained casually. "She can recommend better places than the tourist traps in your itinerary." I felt my careful planning being dismissed as tourist traps, but I tried to be accommodating. "We have dinner reservations at 8. Maybe she could join us for drinks after." "The reservation is for 3 people, Mom pointed out. "We can't just add another person at a fancy restaurant." "Then let's cancel and go where Amber suggests," Stephanie said, as if it were the obvious solution. "There's a cancellation fee," I explained. "And it's a really special restaurant. The chef was on Top Chef last season." So, you care more about a reservation than meeting my friend? Stephanie's voice took on the wounded tone I knew so well. Later that night, back in our hotel room, I overheard Mom and Stephanie talking in the living area of our suite while I was in my bedroom. Haley is being so controlling, Stephanie was saying. It's like we're on her business trip with a minute-by-minute agenda. She means well, Mom replied, but her tone was tired rather than defensive. But yes, it would be nice to just relax without checking what's next on the schedule. I pressed my pillow against my face to muffle any sound as tears welled up. They had no idea how much research, money, and love had gone into that minute-by-minute agenda. All I wanted was to give them the perfect experience, and somehow that made me the villain. On the morning of our second full day, I woke determined to be more flexible. If they wanted a relaxed vacation, I could adapt. I put on my brightest smile and suggested we have breakfast at the hotel's buffet. Something simple with no reservations or time constraints. That sounds nice, Mom agreed, seeming relieved at the lack of structure. As we filled our plates with tropical fruits and pastries, Stephanie casually dropped a bombshell. By the way, Amber is going to join us at the beach today. I told her about our cabana. I paused, a fork full of pineapple halfway to my mouth. The cabana only seats 4 comfortably and we have all our things there. So we can make room, Stephanie said, adding another sugar to her coffee. Don't be so selfish, Haley. Mom jumped in before I could respond. It'll be fine. It's nice that your sister has a friend here who can show us around. I bit my tongue and nodded, though internally I was recalculating the day. The cabana had cost $200, specifically chosen for our comfort. Adding another person would make it cramped. Not to mention the beach attendants might object since the occupancy was clearly stated. After breakfast, we headed back to the room to change for the beach. The plan was to spend the morning relaxing by the ocean, then take a chartered boat tour I'd booked for 2 p.m., a special experience that included dolphin watching and snorkeling at a nearby reef. It had been the most expensive activity I'd booked at $150 per person, non-refundable. What time do we need to be back from the beach? Mom asked as she applied sunscreen. The boat tour is at 2, so we should leave the beach by 1 to have time to change and get to the marina, I explained. Stephanie rolled her eyes. That doesn't give us much time at the beach. Can't we reschedule the boat thing? It's non-refundable and they were booked solid for the rest of the week, I explained patiently. It's supposed to be amazing. The reviews say they almost always see dolphins and the reef has beautiful fish. Fine, Stephanie sighed dramatically as if I'd suggested we spend the afternoon getting root canals. At the beach, we found Amber already waiting near our cabana. She was tall and tan with the confident air of a local. After introductions, she immediately started telling Stephanie about a beach club that was way better than this tourist spot. We should go there tomorrow, Stephanie said excitedly. They have DJs and much better food. I reminded myself to be flexible and smiled. That could be fun. The morning passed pleasantly enough, though Amber and Stephanie dominated the conversation with inside jokes and stories about people I didn't know. Mom seemed content to sunbathe and read her magazine, occasionally joining their conversation. At 12:45, I gently reminded everyone that we needed to start packing up for the boat tour. Already? Stephanie whined. We just got comfortable. We've been here for 3 hours, I pointed out, and we need to change before the tour. About that, Amber interjected. There's this amazing restaurant on South Beach that's impossible to get into, but my friend is the hostess and can get us a table at 2. You guys should totally come instead of doing the tourist boat thing. My heart sank as I saw Stephanie's eyes light up. That sounds way better than looking at fish, she said, turning to Mom. Don't you think? Mom looked torn, glancing between me and Stephanie. Well, Haley did already pay for the boat tour. I'm sure they'd refund it if you explained, Amber said confidently, though she had no basis for this assumption. They won't, I said firmly. I checked their cancellation policy very carefully. It's 100% non-refundable within 48 hours. So, you're making us all go on this boring tour because you're worried about money? Stephanie's tone was accusatory. It's not boring. It has hundreds of 5-star reviews. I defended. And yes, $450 is a lot of money to throw away. The argument continued back at the hotel room as we changed. In the end, a compromise was reached. Mom and I would go on the boat tour while Stephanie went to lunch with Amber. It wasn't ideal, but at least the money wouldn't be completely wasted. The boat tour turned out to be magical. We saw a pod of dolphins, snorkeled among colorful fish, and the guides were knowledgeable and friendly. For a few hours, with Stephanie's negativity absent, Mom actually relaxed and enjoyed herself. We took photos with the dolphins playing in the boat's wake, and Mom's genuine smile warmed my heart. "This was wonderful, Haley," she admitted as we headed back to shore. "I'm glad we didn't cancel." That moment of connection gave me hope that the trip could still be salvaged. But when we returned to the hotel, we found Stephanie sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "How was lunch?" Mom asked. "Amazing," Stephanie gushed. "Amber knows everyone in Miami. We got free champagne and met this group of models who invited us to a yacht party tomorrow." "Tomorrow is the Everglades airboat tour," I reminded her. "Another non-refundable booking." "Yeah, I'm not doing that," Stephanie said dismissively. "Amber says those tours are total tourist traps. The yacht party will be much more fun." I felt a headache forming behind my eyes. "Stephanie, I understand you want to hang out with your friend, but we came here for a family vacation for Mom's birthday. And Mom wants me to have fun, right?" Stephanie looked to our mother for backup. Mom sighed. "I don't want to come between you two. Can't we find something we'd all enjoy?" Before I could respond, my phone dinged with a credit card alert. I opened it to find a charge from the hotel spa for $340. I hadn't visited the spa. "Did either of you go to the spa today?" I asked, already suspecting the answer. "Oh yeah," Stephanie said casually. "Amber and I got massages after lunch. I put it on your card since you're handling all the vacation expenses anyway. I figured you wouldn't mind since you're so concerned about us enjoying ourselves." I stared at her, momentarily speechless. "You used my credit card without asking me? Don't make a big deal about it." Stephanie rolled her eyes. "You can afford it with your fancy marketing job. Think of it as your contribution to my vacation enjoyment." "My contribution?" I finally lost my cool. "I paid for the flights, the hotel, all the activities. I've been planning this trip for months. What exactly have you contributed besides complaints?" "There you go again, making everything about money," Stephanie shot back. "Not all of us have high-paying jobs, Haley. Some of us are still figuring things out." "Girls, please." Mom intervened. "Let's not fight. Stephanie, you should have asked before using your sister's card. Haley, I'm sure your sister will pay you back." We both knew she wouldn't. That night, while Mom and Stephanie got ready for dinner, I stepped onto our balcony alone. The sun was setting over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It should have been beautiful, but I could barely appreciate it through my tears of frustration. I had saved for this trip for nearly a year. I had spent countless hours researching and planning. And somehow, I had become the villain in my own story. The controlling, money-obsessed sister who was ruining everyone's good time. As I wiped away tears, I promised myself I would try harder tomorrow. I would be more flexible, less attached to my plans. I would find a way to make this work for Mom's sake. I had no idea that tomorrow would be the day everything fell apart completely. I woke before sunrise on our third day, determined to turn things around. Yesterday had ended with tense silence at dinner, despite my attempts at cheerful conversation. Today would be different. I quietly left the suite and went to the hotel's concierge, explaining that I wanted to arrange a special birthday breakfast for my mother. The kind concierge, Luis, helped me arrange for a private breakfast on our balcony. Fresh fruit, pastries, gourmet coffee, and champagne for mimosas. I added a small bouquet of Mom's favorite flowers and a birthday card I had brought from home. When I returned to the suite, Mom and Stephanie were still sleeping. I set up the breakfast surprise on the balcony, arranging everything perfectly. When they finally emerged around 9 a.m., I led them outside. "Happy early birthday breakfast, Mom," I said, hoping the gesture would reset the trip's tone. Mom seemed genuinely touched. "This is lovely, Haley." "Thank you." For a brief moment, as we sipped mimosas and watched the ocean, it felt like the vacation I had envisioned. Then Stephanie's phone chimed with a text. "Amber says the beach club I told you about has a special event today," she announced. "We should definitely go. She can put us on the VIP list." I had booked a different beach club for today, I explained, one known for its tranquil atmosphere and excellent service, specifically because Mom had mentioned wanting a relaxing beach day. I already made arrangements at La Playa Beach Club. They're holding a cabana for us and I've paid the deposit. But this one Amber suggested is where all the celebrities go, Stephanie insisted. It would be so much cooler. I don't care about celebrities, Mom interjected, surprising us both. But I trust Stephanie's friend knows the good places. Can we change the reservation, Haley? I felt that familiar sinking feeling. Another deposit lost, another carefully made plan discarded. But I had promised myself I would be flexible. I'll call and see, I said, forcing a smile. The original beach club wouldn't refund my $150 deposit. Of course. I called Amber's suggested place and learned their VIP cabanas cost $500 for the day, with a minimum spend of another $300 on food and drinks. When I mentioned this, Stephanie waved away my concerns. It's totally worth it. The people watching alone is amazing. I didn't bother pointing out that this would blow our entire day's budget. What was the point? I was already calculating which bill I would pay late next month to cover these mounting unexpected expenses. We took a taxi to the new beach club, Stephanie chattering excitedly the whole way about the celebrities we might see. Mom seemed to feed off her enthusiasm, while I sat quietly, trying to maintain a positive attitude despite the growing knot in my stomach. When we arrived, the entrance was crowded with beautiful people waiting to get in. Amber was waiting near the door and waved us over, air-kissing Stephanie and introducing herself to Mom with exaggerated warmth. I've heard so much about you. Happy birthday, she gushed, though Stephanie had only met her 2 days ago. Amber led us past the line to the entrance where a stern-looking man with a clipboard stood guard. She whispered something to him and he nodded, unhooking the velvet rope to let us through. Stephanie shot me a triumphant look as if this validated everything. Inside, the club was a sensory overload. Pounding music, beautiful people in tiny swimwear, elaborate cabanas, and a pool that seemed more for posing beside than swimming in. It was exactly the scene I had tried to avoid for Mom's sake. Amber led us to a cabana that was indeed in a prime location, but directly beside a DJ booth, pumping out music so loud I could feel it in my chest. Isn't this amazing? Stephanie shouted over the music. Mom nodded, though I noticed her wince at a particularly loud bass drop. She was putting on a brave face, but I knew this environment wasn't her preference at all. A waiter appeared with a tablet. Welcome to Azure. Minimum spend for this cabana is $300. Would you like to start a tab? I handed over my credit card, resigned to the expense. Can we possibly move to a cabana further from the speakers? I asked. It's my mom's birthday and we'd like to be able to talk. The waiter looked at me like I'd asked to turn the ocean purple. These are our premium locations. If you want something quieter, you should have booked a regular hotel pool. Amber laughed. That's just how it is here. It's exclusive for a reason. We settled into the cabana and I tried to make the best of it. I ordered drinks and snacks, conscious of the mounting tab, but wanting Mom to enjoy herself despite the overwhelming atmosphere. About an hour in, Amber spotted someone she knew and waved them over. Soon our cabana was filled with her friends, 3 women and 2 men, all as loud and flashy as the club itself. They ordered drinks without asking, clearly aware that someone else, me, was covering the tab. Mom looked increasingly uncomfortable as the strangers dominated our space. I could see her trying to maintain a polite smile, but her eyes kept darting to me with a clear message. Help. I leaned over to Stephanie. Mom doesn't seem to be enjoying this. Maybe we should move to the hotel pool. She's fine, Stephanie dismissed. She needs to loosen up and have fun. This isn't her kind of fun, I insisted. Look at her. You're just mad because your boring plan got changed. Stephanie snapped. Stop trying to control everything. One of Amber's male friends overheard and smirked. Yeah, stop being such a buzzkill. I felt my face flush with embarrassment and anger. I stood up abruptly. Mom, do you want to go somewhere quieter? Before Mom could answer, Amber interjected. We're about to order bottle service. You can't leave now. Bottle service? I echoed, envisioning the astronomical cost. It's a vacation. Stephanie said dismissively. Live a little. That's when I noticed one of Amber's friends casually going through my beach bag. She pulled out my sunscreen, used it, and tossed it aside without asking. Excuse me, I said, reaching for my bag. Those are my things. Sharing is caring, the woman laughed, already digging for something else. I pulled my bag away, accidentally knocking over her drink in the process. The glass shattered on the concrete. "What the hell?" she exclaimed, jumping up as if I'd done it deliberately. Suddenly, everyone was staring at me. Amber, her friends, Stephanie, and Mom, all with varying degrees of shock and annoyance. "I'm sorry about the glass, but she was going through my personal belongings without permission," I explained, my voice shaking slightly. "It's not a big deal, Haley," Stephanie hissed. "Why are you making a scene?" "A scene?" I repeated incredulously. "These strangers are invading our family vacation, going through my things, running up a tab on my credit card, and I'm making a scene?" Mom stood up, clearly mortified by the developing argument. "Haley, please. People are staring." "I don't care," I finally snapped. "I spent months planning this trip. I saved for a year to give you a special birthday. I researched everything to make it perfect. And what thanks do I get? Stephanie invites strangers, changes all the plans, uses my credit card without permission, and you take her side every single time." The music seemed to dim as my voice rose. Nearby cabanas full of beautiful people were indeed watching our family drama unfold with undisguised interest. Mom's face flushed dark red. She grabbed my arm and pulled me aside behind the cabana where we had a moment of relative privacy. "You are embarrassing me," she whispered furiously. "This whole trip you've been rigid and controlling, making Stephanie feel bad about wanting to have fun her way. Her way is costing me thousands of dollars I didn't budget for." I protested. "And it's not even what you wanted. You hate loud music and crowds. This was supposed to be a relaxing beach vacation for your birthday, not a party scene for Stephanie and her Instagram friend." Mom's expression hardened in a way I rarely saw. "Stop ruining the trip with your sister. Just leave." The words echoed in the sudden silence that seemed to fall around us. I stepped back, feeling as if I'd been slapped. From behind Mom, I could see Stephanie watching with a mixture of shock and what looked horribly like satisfaction. "Fine," I said quietly, gathering my dignity around me like armor. "I'll leave." I turned and walked away, not looking back even as I heard Mom call my name once, uncertainly. I didn't trust myself to speak without breaking down completely. As I passed through the club entrance, the stern bouncer gave me a surprisingly sympathetic look. Perhaps he'd seen this kind of family drama play out before in this playground for the beautiful and privileged. Outside, I took a deep breath of air that wasn't heavy with perfume and pretension. Then I hailed a taxi and directed it back to our hotel, my mind already calculating what I needed to do next. The hotel room was quiet and cool when I returned, a stark contrast to the chaotic beach club I'd just left. I stood in the center of the living area for a moment, looking at our shared space. Stephanie's clothes strewn across furniture, Mom's reading glasses and novel on the coffee table, my carefully organized travel documents in a folder by the TV. I moved to my small bedroom and pulled out my suitcase. With methodical precision, I began packing my belongings. Each item folded neatly, each toiletry sealed and secured. The physical tasks helped keep my emotions at bay, though occasionally I had to pause when a wave of hurt threatened to overwhelm me. I wasn't acting out of pure emotion. A calm, rational part of my brain had made this decision. Mom had asked me to leave and I was respecting her wishes. The fact that it also protected what remained of my self-respect was a necessary bonus. As I packed, I made a mental inventory of all the reservations and arrangements I had made for the remainder of their trip. 3 more days of activities, meals, and experiences I had carefully selected. I couldn't just disappear without ensuring they could still access everything I had paid for. At the hotel desk in our room, I found the notepad with a hotel logo. I wrote a detailed note explaining where to find all the reservation confirmations, which were stored in my email, but also printed in the travel folder. I listed the remaining activities by day with confirmation numbers and contact information. I included the names of the hotel staff I had built relationships with who could help them if needed. I read over the note, making sure my handwriting was legible despite my shaking hands. No accusations, no emotional language, just facts and information they would need. I placed it prominently on the coffee table where they would see it upon returning. Next, I went down to the front desk and spoke with the concierge, Luis, who had helped me with the birthday breakfast just hours earlier. "Is everything all right, Miss Walker?" he asked, noting my red-rimmed eyes with concern. "There's been a change of plans," I explained, keeping my voice steady. I need to return home early, but my mother and sister will be staying for the duration. Could you please ensure that all the arrangements I've made for them remain accessible? Luis was the consummate professional, not prying but offering genuine assistance. He updated the room information so that Mom could charge expenses to the room without my presence, confirmed that all my prepaid reservations would be honored, and even arranged for a birthday amenity to be delivered to the room on Mom's actual birthday 2 days hence. And could you recommend a good flight booking service? I asked. I need to arrange a return flight as soon as possible. Luis directed me to the business center where I was able to book a flight leaving that evening. It cost far more than I had budgeted for, another financial hit on top of everything else. But I couldn't stay another night. Not after what had happened. Back in the room, I checked my bank app and transferred the remaining spending money I had budgeted for the trip to Mom's account. She wouldn't be left stranded financially, even though my own account was now dangerously low. I took one last look around the luxury suite that was supposed to have been the setting for our perfect family reunion. From the balcony, I could see the ocean stretching to the horizon, beautiful and indifferent to human dramas. I allowed myself exactly 1 minute to stand there, feeling the breeze and acknowledging what I was losing by leaving. Then I closed the balcony door, picked up my suitcase and left. In the lobby, the same bellhop who had greeted us so cheerfully 2 days ago helped me get a taxi to the airport. As we pulled away from the hotel, I finally turned my phone back on and sent a single text to Mom. As requested, I'm leaving. All reservations are still valid. Enjoy the rest of your trip. Then I turned off notifications and stared out the window as Miami's glittering coastline slipped past. The Uber driver, sensing my mood, mercifully didn't attempt conversation. At the airport, everything passed in a blur. Security, the overpriced sandwich I couldn't taste, the waiting area full of families and couples embarking on or returning from their own vacations. I wondered how many of them were having the perfect trips I had imagined for us. When I finally boarded the plane and settled into my economy seat, a far cry from the first-class experience I had arranged for our arrival, exhaustion hit me all at once, physical and emotional. As the plane took off, lifting away from the city where I had left my family and thousands of dollars worth of prepaid experiences, I finally allowed the tears to come. The middle-aged woman in the seat beside me pretended not to notice, offering me a tissue without comment. Small kindnesses from strangers sometimes hurt the most. By the time we reached cruising altitude, I had cried myself into a state of numb emptiness. I declined the flight attendant's offer of a drink and closed my eyes, not expecting sleep, but needing to shut out the world for a while. Somewhere over the darkened landscape of America, it occurred to me that this was the first decision I had made in months that wasn't calculated to please my mother or accommodate my sister. It had been purely for my own well-being. The realization didn't make me feel better exactly, but it felt significant nonetheless. My apartment felt smaller and emptier than I remembered when I unlocked the door just after midnight. Everything was exactly as I had left it 4 days ago. Yet it felt like returning to a different life entirely. I dropped my suitcase in the entryway and moved through the dark rooms without turning on lights. In my bedroom, I didn't bother unpacking or even changing clothes. I simply fell onto my bed, fully dressed, and finally surrendered to the emotional and physical exhaustion. When I woke the next morning, disoriented and still wearing yesterday's clothes, the reality of what had happened hit me. I was supposed to be in Miami with my family for 3 more days. Instead, I was alone in my apartment, having walked away from thousands of dollars in non-refundable reservations, and more painfully, from the dream of what that trip was supposed to have been. I checked my phone. It was just after 10 a.m. and I had 17 missed calls, 12 from Mom, 5 from Stephanie, and numerous text messages. I wasn't ready to read or listen to any of them. I silenced my phone again and set it aside. The quiet of my apartment, usually a comfort after busy workdays, now felt oppressive. I turned on music, took a shower, and tried to establish some normalcy by making coffee and toast, though I had little appetite. As the day progressed, I found myself moving between moments of clarity and confidence in my decision, and waves of doubt and guilt. Had I overreacted? Should I have stayed and tried harder to make things work? Was I being petty about money when family was what really mattered? Then I would remember how it felt to hear my mother tell me to leave, to see the look on Stephanie's face, and my resolve would strengthen again. I deserved better than to be treated as an ATM and personal travel agent whose feelings and preferences didn't matter. Around 4 p.m., about 24 hours after I had walked away from the beach club, my phone began ringing again. This time it was Jessica, my best friend. I hesitated, then answered. "Hey," I said, my voice rough from disuse. "Haley, are you okay? Aren't you supposed to be in Miami?" Jessica sounded concerned. "I hadn't told anyone about leaving early." "How did you know something was wrong?" "Your mom called me," Jessica explained. "She said she's been trying to reach you since yesterday and was worried." The fact that Mom had tracked down my friend's number instead of respecting my obvious need for space irritated me, but I tried to keep it from my voice. "I'm fine. I just needed some time alone." "What happened? Do you want to talk about it?" I surprised myself by telling her everything. The months of planning, the immediate tension upon arrival, Stephanie's friend, and the constant changes to plans, and finally the awful scene at the beach club. "So I left," I concluded. "Mom told me to leave. And I did." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Jessica said simply, "I'm coming over. With wine." An hour later, Jessica arrived with not just wine, but also takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant and a pint of chocolate ice cream. We sat on my living room floor eating pad thai straight from the containers while I showed her the increasingly frantic texts from Mom and Stephanie. The first messages from Mom, sent about 3 hours after I left, were angry. "I can't believe you would be so selfish and dramatic. You've ruined this trip with your tantrum." Then they had shifted to confusion. "Where are you? Are you coming back to the hotel?" By late evening they had turned to concern. "Haley, please answer. We're worried about you. At least let us know you're safe." Stephanie's messages followed a similar pattern, though with less concern and more blame. "Way to make Mom's birthday trip all about you." Was followed by "Mom is really upset now. I hope you're happy." "You know what I noticed?" Jessica said, refilling our wine glasses. "Not one single apology in all those messages. Not one acknowledgement that they hurt you or appreciation for all you did to plan this trip." I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to validate my feelings until that moment. The knot that had been sitting in my chest since Miami began to loosen slightly. "I keep thinking I overreacted," I admitted. "Maybe I should have been more flexible." Jessica shook her head firmly. "Haley, you spent months planning a beautiful trip. You paid for most of it. You tried to accommodate their changes at every turn, losing deposits and watching your careful plans get thrown aside. Then your sister used your credit card without permission. And when you finally expressed your hurt feelings, your mom told you to leave. You didn't overreact. If anything, you underreacted until that final moment." We stayed up late talking, Jessica's unwavering support helping me process the swirl of emotions. When she left around midnight, I felt stronger than I had since the whole debacle began. The next morning, I woke to a notification that Mom had posted on Facebook. Curious despite myself, I logged in to see several photos from the trip posted with the caption, "Wonderful Miami vacation for my birthday with Stephanie. Missing Haley, who had to leave early for work. Wish you were still here with us, honey." The complete fabrication about why I had left caught me off guard. The photos showed Mom and Stephanie smiling at restaurants I had researched and booked, enjoying experiences I had arranged and paid for. There was no mention of our fight or the real reason for my absence. Just as I was processing this, my phone chimed with a call from Linda, Mom's best friend since college. "Haley, it's Linda. I just wanted to check if you're okay." I braced myself for more guilt or manipulation passed through a third party. "I'm fine, Linda. Just needed some space." "I figured as much," Linda said, surprising me with her tone. "Look, I've known your mother for 30 years and I love her dearly. But I also know how she can be with you and your sister. Catherine called me in a panic, saying you'd stormed off from the vacation after some disagreement, but I had a feeling there was more to the story." Linda's unexpected understanding prompted me to give her the abbreviated version of events. She listened without interruption, then sighed heavily. "That sounds about right," she said. "Your mom called me last night practically in tears because she and Stephanie couldn't figure out how to use the dinner reservations you'd made. Apparently, the restaurant couldn't find the booking at first because it was under your name. Then this morning she called again because they couldn't find the confirmation for some boat tour. I felt a flicker of vindication. I left detailed instructions and all the confirmation numbers. I'm sure you did, Linda assured me. But you know your mom and technology, and Stephanie has never been one to handle details. They're completely lost without you, which is probably why your mom is trying so hard to reach you. The image of my mother and sister floundering through the carefully arranged experiences made me feel both satisfied and sad. Part of me wanted them to struggle, to realize how much work I had put into the trip. Another part felt guilty for abandoning them, even though I'd been told to leave. They'll figure it out, I said, more to convince myself than Linda. Maybe, Linda said doubtfully. But that's not really why I called. I wanted to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Your mom and Stephanie can be a lot to handle, and you've always been the one who accommodates everyone else. Her understanding brought fresh tears to my eyes. I'm trying to. Good. And Haley, whatever happens when they get back, remember that you deserve respect and appreciation, especially from family. After Linda's call, I decided to check social media again. Stephanie had posted several stories on Instagram. Poolside selfies, drinks with Amber, a video of mom awkwardly dancing at what looked like a restaurant. They appeared to be enjoying themselves without me, which hurt despite being exactly what I expected. But then I noticed something in the background of one of Stephanie's photos. Mom was sitting at a beach bar, staring off into the distance with an expression of such profound sadness that it stopped me cold. It wasn't the face of someone having a wonderful time. That evening, 5 days after I had left Miami, I was making dinner when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a moment I considered not answering, but curiosity won out. I opened the door to find Mom and Stephanie standing there, looking travel-worn and uncertain. "You're supposed to be in Miami for 2 more days," I said, too surprised to say anything else. "We came back early," Mom said simply. "Can we come in, please?" I stepped aside to let them enter, my mind racing with questions and my heart guarding itself against further hurt. The 3 of us stood awkwardly in my living room, the silence heavy with all the things we needed to say to each other. It was Mom who finally spoke first. "We need to talk, Haley. All of us. About what happened in Miami and about a lot of other things too." Mom, Stephanie, and I sat in my small living room, the tension so thick it felt hard to breathe. None of us seemed to know how to begin this conversation. The sound of a neighbor's television drifted faintly through the wall, a mundane backdrop to our family drama. "Why did you come back early?" I finally asked, breaking the silence. Mom and Stephanie exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. "The trip fell apart after you left," Mom admitted. "Completely," Stephanie added, surprising me with her candor. "We missed the sunset cruise because we couldn't find the meeting point. Then we got lost trying to find the restaurant you booked for dinner. The confirmation emails and instructions I left weren't helpful. I couldn't keep the edge from my voice." "They were," Mom said quietly. "But I realized that we'd been relying on you for everything. When you weren't there, it all felt overwhelming. I waited, not ready to make this easier for them. The day after you left, we tried to go to that Everglades tour you had booked," Stephanie continued. "We made it to the meeting point this time, but they said the reservation was specifically for 3 people, and they couldn't adjust it last minute to just 2. We lost that money too. We spent the rest of that day just sitting at the hotel pool," Mom added. "That's when I started to really think about everything that had happened, about how much work you had put into planning this trip, and how quickly we dismissed it all. And about how awful we were to you," Stephanie said, her voice small. I looked at her, genuinely surprised by this acknowledgement. Stephanie met my gaze directly for the first time since they'd arrived. "I was jealous," she admitted. "You always have everything so together. Your career, your apartment, your plans. I invited Amber to the trip because I wanted to seem cool and connected too. I didn't think about how it would affect the vacation you planned. And I enabled her," Mom added. "I've always worried so much about Stephanie feeling left out or less successful that I've overlooked how unfair that is to you." I felt tears threatening but held them back. "You told me to leave," I said to Mom. "The hurt's still raw. After everything I did to make that trip special for you, you told me to leave." Mom's face crumpled. "I know. I was embarrassed about making a scene and I lashed out at the wrong person. Instead of standing up for you, I took the easy route of siding with Stephanie like I always do. I'm so sorry, Haley. So deeply sorry." The apology I had needed finally came. And with it, the tears I'd been holding back. Do you know how much that hurt? To be dismissed like that after all the time and money and love I put into that trip. We don't deserve your forgiveness, Mom said, her own eyes filling with tears. But we're here to ask for it anyway. Stephanie nodded, looking more humble than I'd ever seen her. And to tell you that we're going to try to do better, starting with paying you back for the trip. I don't care about the money, I said automatically, though part of me definitely did. We know, Mom said. But it's about respect and accountability. We're going to pay you back and we're going to work on the deeper issues too. We talked for hours that night, peeling back layers of family dynamics that had been forming since childhood. Mom admitted that she had always expected more from me because I seemed more capable, while protecting Stephanie from consequences because she seemed more fragile. Stephanie acknowledged that she had exploited this dynamic, playing the baby of the family when it suited her. I shared how this had made me feel unappreciated, taken for granted, and often lonely in my role as the responsible one. It wasn't an easy conversation. There were more tears, some raised voices, and moments when old defensive patterns threatened to derail us. But something had fundamentally changed. For the first time, we were actually listening to each other. 2 weeks later, the three of us had our first session with a family therapist. It was Mom's idea, surprising both Stephanie and me. We need help to break these patterns, she had said. I don't want to lose either of my daughters because I couldn't figure out how to be fair to both of you. The therapy wasn't easy. It brought up painful truths and required all of us to examine behaviors we'd rather have left unquestioned. But it was also healing in ways I hadn't expected. Mom started treating me and Stephanie as equals, both in her expectations and her affection. Stephanie began taking more responsibility for her choices and their consequences. And I learned that I could state my needs and boundaries without feeling guilty. 6 months after the Miami disaster, Mom suggested we try another family trip. Something small and simple this time. We decided on a weekend at a lakeside cabin just a few hours' drive away. The planning was collaborative, with clear agreements about costs and responsibilities. Stephanie actually handled the food planning and shopping, taking the task seriously in a way she never had before. That weekend wasn't perfect. Old habits occasionally surfaced, but now we had tools to recognize and address them. We had one minor argument about activity plans. But instead of it escalating into a major conflict, we were able to talk through it respectfully. On our last evening, sitting on the cabin's porch watching the sunset over the lake, Mom raised her glass in a toast. To Haley, she said, her voice warm with genuine appreciation, who taught us that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Thank you for giving us another chance to be the family you deserve. Stephanie joined the toast, adding, and to not taking each other for granted anymore. As we clinked glasses, I felt something settle within me. A sense of being truly seen and valued by my family, perhaps for the first time. The Miami trip had been a painful breaking point, but it had led to necessary growth for all of us. I've learned that sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people we love most. That real love includes respect and reciprocity, not just affection and shared history. And that walking away, when done not as manipulation but as self-preservation, can sometimes be the catalyst for positive change. If you're watching this and recognizing your own family dynamics in our story, know that change is possible. But it requires honesty, effort, and sometimes the courage to say, enough, when you're being treated unfairly. Your worth isn't measured by how much you can endure, but by how true you stay to yourself, even in difficult moments. Has anyone else ever had to walk away from family to make them appreciate you? Drop a comment below sharing your experience. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life stories about family dynamics, boundaries, and personal growth. And don't forget to share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to stand up for themselves, even with family. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. But the most beautiful thing is finding your way back to each other with new understanding and respect.